Hey everyone, y'all know the deal. We're here to go over Record of Ragnarok chapter 112. A fast recap of the previous chapter will happen quickly, and to skip the recap, then jump to this time on the screen or click the time code in the description. Last chapter, Golner inscribed in his book Love and Belief, stating, "Love is not jealous, love is not prideful, love is not boastful, love is a signpost that leads us to the truth of the world." Shortly before that, there were 11 Godslayers composed of 4 Yggdrasil and their 7 supporters, facing off against 77 primordial gods that stood against them. This war was known as Ragnarok. However, the strength of the Yggdrasil was too much to the 77 gods as they fell one by one. The setting takes us to a castle where many gods lay injured. One comments that the Yggdrasil are just too strong with their supporters. More than half have already met Nifl, and all they can do is run and put up little resistance. Even though everything is exhausted, Irin is willing to fight until the very end. Golner barges in, telling all he made a new orb invention. One questions, what did he create? Because nothing they have will even scratch them, whether it be a weapon or technique. Golner acknowledges that, which is why he created Gleipnir, being a seal. He gives an explanation of his power, being it uses space and time to compress space-time in an inescapable pocket. Activation requires pouring their energy into the core, causing the stopping or slowing the flow of time for the Yggdrasil. One god is only concerned if it can really seal the Yggdrasil. Golner is sure it can, but reveals a trade-off, being their life force. To seal such powerful beings, an immeasurable amount of life force is required from all of them. Even with the seal being successful, more than half of them will meet Nifl, so they must all decide if to go with this risky plan. This doesn't scare the gods, for as long as the Yggdrasil is sealed, they'll pay this easy price. Golner is touched, and Izanagi advises that they all come up with a battle plan to stake everything. Later on, the Yggdrasil continues battling the gods, thinking they were fleeing, but sees they're making one last stand. When in reality, the Yggdrasil fell right into the plan as Golner and the others began to pour their energy into the seal, opening up a black hole, sucking them in. The seal was a success, but in exchange, the primordial gods met Nifl, but called Golner a genius. Irin discovers Golner missing both his legs. She's relieved to see he's still alive, while Golner is distraught that many died due to him, wondering why he was spared. Irin reassures that he has saved the world and has done plenty, which causes Golner to thank his wife. With Ragnarok now finished, Valhalla returned to normal, but a choice had to be made between the remaining primordial gods, whether to tell the future generation of the Yggdrasil or not. Many agree that as long as the runes exist, someone may resonate with them, possibly triggering the end of the world. They decide to not tell the world of the Yggdrasil and then decide what to do with the truth. In conclusion, those before Ragnarok will die with the truth, and a new false history will be pushed. They ask what Irin thinks of this, and she too agrees with the plan, and their last job is to expunge this event from history. All agree to this when Golner arrives, stating he is against this plan. He believes history is neither good or bad. Everything about it must be told to everyone. Irin counters that as long as there's good and evil in the world, then they must hide the truth from wicked individuals seeking their resurrection. Golner still fights, knowing that hiding the truth is useless because it will come out at some point, which is exactly why it should be shared. It's only when someone hoards that knowledge for nefarious means is when the world will end. Revealing his crumbling hand points to the idea that they do not have much time left, and asks, isn't it irresponsible to hide the truth before their death? Not listening, they counter by saying they are plucking the roots now and history will stay hidden forever as they all take one last vote. No one agrees with Golnir, and Irin releases light chains upon him, tying him up. He begs them all to reconsider, as sealing them is just running away from them while they wait for the seal to be broken. He believes the fear and the truth should be passed down, as one day someone will rise to defeat them. They state the seal Golnir created will simply last for eternity. With this, the history prior to Gleipnir was overwritten and Golnir was imprisoned when luckily his best disciple, Feldis, came with more supporters to free him. Golnir is curious on how they managed to sneak past the guards, and Feldis announced that they used some of his tools to put the guards to sleep. They heavily advised for Golnir to leave with them, as they are willing to assist their master no matter what. This warms Golnir's heart, but he is against this idea, as he wants them to live happily rather than deal with their affairs. He grabs his gear bag, giving Feldis a mirror that creates a barrier blocking all senses and perception. With this, they can create their own hidden village. Feldis wants Golnir to join them, but he declines as he has one last job to do. Plus, he doesn't want them to get in trouble for helping him. He also gives them a good luck charm, counting on them to succeed. Later on, Golnir fled his prison, wandering amongst the Outlands, writing his story. Despite his body failing him, he wrote about the erased history, including how to break the seal. In his tome, he inscribed about love and following his own beliefs. Will his truth get out to the future generations, or will the primordial gods recapture him and silence him once and for all? This new chapter picks up exactly where we left off, with the remaining primordial gods creating a false new history following Golnir's escape. They poured their powers into this mysterious orb, triggering runes to emerge and expand across the world. This successfully falsified the history prior to Gleipnir via overriding every god's memory. The existence of the Yggdrasil and all history dealing with them was removed entirely from the world. The primordial gods' only issue now is Golnir, who is missing, and their memory wipe had no effect on him. They question if Irin has any idea on where he might be, but even she has no idea where he could be, as that's how Golnir has always been once he hides away. They're worried what trouble he may cause if he continues to roam free, and are dedicated to finding him no matter what. When suddenly, one of the gods senses a reaction and announces that Golnir is actually here, shocking everyone. He barges in, stating it's been a while. Irin rushes to hug Golnir, and Golnir comments that she's gotten even more beautiful, followed by her asking what happened to him. The other gods arise, surprised he came out on his own. Golnir can see the group is still gloomy and sulky as ever, and he has always planned to come out at the right time. Knowing this, they question why did he come out of hiding then, as they had achieved a peaceful world and his existence is too much of a threat, meaning he must disappear for its sake. This does not faze Golnir, as he is well aware, but he knows something that they don't. He created something for all to see, and he wants to brag about it for a bit. Curious on what he made, they gather, and he reveals his opus masterpiece, the Book of Golnir, where everything is recorded, entrusting the future in this book. As they all stand there stunned by what he just revealed, Golnir prepares to put the finishing touches, as aura flows from his hand as he says, "My beliefs, my will, the everlasting and unmarred truth told to the future, spun for eternity and passed until the end of time." The others ask what's he doing and he shouldn't continue, and finally he finishes the spell by decreeing with his life. This causes Golnir to begin shattering, falling into Irin's arms. Golnir is content that he finished his last job, and Irin wants to know why did he go so far, and it's cause Golnir believes in the future and in their children. Everyone stands silent, and Golnir's final words to his wife is he apologizes for being so selfish, as that is the only way he knew to live, calling it stupid. Irin agrees, but that's the reason why she loved him so much as tears fell down her cheeks. Golnir is ecstatic to hear that from his wife and thanks her for everything as he's finally Nifled away, with his body fully fading. Irin opens the book and reads everything that Golnir wrote: the creation of the world, Yggdrasil's massacre, Ragnarok, and how Gleipnir works, including how to break the seal. He also wrote about the group. He wrote that the group were heroes who fought for peace, which touches all their hearts. To him, this was the truth, the very words Golnir wanted to etch in history, even if it costed his own life. They're still baffled as to why he brought the book to them, and Irin reminds them that he clearly stated that it's for him to brag, as that's just his nature. One god apologizes to Irin as they must burn the book now, as it cannot be allowed to exist. Irin understands this as they attempt to burn it. Flames surround the book, but a shield activates protecting it, which is to be expected by the gods. Everyone gathers, lending their strength, and stakes their lives on burning the book. They perform a spell called Eeld Negel, and the book begins to burn. Another god cries, asking for Golnir's forgiveness, as this was the only way. The book is fully burned and Irin can see it's finally over, but they remind her that Golnir's disciples that helped free him are still on the loose, and with their knowledge, they're just as dangerous. The gods have searched every corner of the world, but they're nowhere to be found, causing some of them to assume that they're all dead. However, one hypothesizes that Golnir's invention is keeping them hidden, meaning they can't have their memories overwritten. Due to this, they must find them and get rid of anyone who knows of the truth for the sake of their new world. After they all leave, runes from the charred papers exit and travel into the sky. Meanwhile, the disciples see that a candle went out, signaling that Golnir has died. They break down crying, not knowing how Golnir met his end, but Feldis is sure that his beliefs will continue through them, and they must not shed a tear, as Feldis reminisces on his memories with Golnir. Since Golnir completed his mission, they question what should they do now, wondering if they should fight to spread their truth throughout the world. Feldis disagrees with this plan, as they'll just be purged by the primordial gods, and Golnir would never want them to fight. Instead, they remain hidden and simply wait for the right time. They'll continue telling descendants the truth because someday the world will need that truth, and then it can be spread to everyone. From this day on, they are proof of Golnir's existence, naming themselves the people of Golnir. The narration then states that the Primordial has succeeded in their false history goal. Yggdrasil and Golnir was erased from history, and outside the village of the people of Golnir, people were taught that the primordial gods created the world, but their power was too great, causing them to self-destruct, leading to the new gods creating the current world order, being Valhalla, Midgard, and Helheim. Some school children made some comments on this history, asking if their ancestors really created the world, and a teacher confirms this new false history, as there was no one left that knew the real truth. The runes that went into the sky now descend into the library and imprint itself onto a book, changing it to the Book of Golnir, waiting to be discovered. Eons had passed, and an event sparked a dreadful tragedy, as we go back to the Golnir people's village, seeing a young god knocking on a window. Inside is an aged Feldis that hears the knock and is happy the young god came. The god states he brought the usual, and Feldis begins drinking from the barrel he brought. He states this booze is extra delicious, as they're always telling him to quit drinking, but since he's old and on his last legs, he treats this booze as his wife, calling this young god as his only ally, who is named Velk, rubbing his head. The boy felt some pain from that, stating Feldis is still strong as ever despite his age. So now that he brought the booze, he wants to hear the story of the great Golnir once again, and Feldis can see that he really loves that story. Velk agrees because Golnir created a strong forbidden technique and used it to save the gods, making Golnir very cool in his eyes. Lastly, it's revealed that Velk is the nameless young god that would later become Odin, the supreme god of the Norse pantheon, and this all started due to his pure heart, bringing this chapter to a crazy cliffhanger. Holy crap, what a cliffhanger to leave this on, because this little pure-hearted kid is the very reason why Odin came back and put the whole world in great danger. Now, I did believe Odin was part of the Golnir people, but I did not think he emerged from that nameless god who was a part of the Golnir people. I also thought older Vek was more of a villain looking for Odin's sword, but no, he was an innocent, pure-hearted person just trying to be like his savior Golnir. Man, that is heartbreaking, because now I can imagine Velk is very conscious that Odin is controlling his body and making him do all these horrible things. Now, next chapter will probably feature him getting possessed and coming back, slaughtering all the Golnir people, causing the tragedy, since once again they are the only ones that know the truth. So in the end, the primordial gods got their wish fulfilled, but too late once Odin was freed. Man, that chapter is definitely gonna hit in the feels, especially with Feldus seeing this pure-hearted boy betray him. These primordial gods are truly overpowered as well, because to have the ability to rewrite people's memories is also absolutely insane. But it seems for them, their powers always come at a cost, being their life force, which I guess is fair. And technically, the false history with the primordial gods self-destructing isn't also entirely wrong, since many of them did die using the Gleipnir seal, and Golnir himself gave his life to preserve his runes. Speaking of those runes, that's another broken ability, because no matter what you do to that book or the runes, it seems they will always respawn no matter what. And as Golnir said during his spell, this will be in effect till the end of time itself. Man, Golnir truly did so many amazing things, even in his final moments. Honestly though, screw Erin saying she loves Golnir. Like, bro, you went against him, tied him up, put him in prison, and agreed to erase his existence. Get the fuck out of here talking about you love him. As I said before, Golnir is a much better man than me. He even wrote that the same primordial gods that wanted him dead and gone are heroes. And then you had that other guy crying, asking for forgiveness. Get them crocodile tears out of here. In a matter of 2 chapters, they made me dislike them more than most characters in the series. The only person who I really dislike the most is Heijun. Fuck that bum. Either way, I'm glad Golnir completed his final task and bragged about it like a boss, and then his disciples got to live in peace for eons. At the very least, till that villain Odin came along thanks to Velk. But it seemed like the runes did its job, as Beelzebub discovered that book, and both him and Buddha are on to Odin's plan now, which is great. So thank you for everything, Goat Golnir. That's all I have for this video. Let me know your thoughts on the chapter in the comments below. I'll catch y'all later. Stay safe out there and be good people. Peace.